arguments like that. Okay, so slide number 5, which is the actual translation. The personality of Godhead is pure, being free from all contaminations of material tinges. He is the absolute truth and the embodiment of full and perfect knowledge. He is all-pervading, without beginning or end, and without rival, O Nārada, O great sage. The great thinkers can know him when completely freed from all material hankerings and when sheltered under undisturbed conditions of the senses. Otherwise, by untenable arguments, all is distorted and the Lord disappears from our sight. Slide number 6. So we then broke it down logically here. And at the beginning it says, personality of Godhead is, and it has different descriptions of him. He's pure, he's the absolute truth, he's the embodiment of full and perfect knowledge, he is all-pervading, he's without beginning or end, and he's without rival. And pure specifically means free from all material contamination. Okay, slide 7. Yeah. Then it says, great thinkers can know him when, okay, there's 2 conditions, completely free from all material hankerings, sheltered under undisturbed conditions of the senses. And then, otherwise, if these conditions don't exist, all is distorted, and the Lord disappears from our sight, which is produced by untenable arguments. Untenable arguments. Okay. Now then, slide number 8. First off, a little perspective here, and Vidagda's stealing my style. He's like giving a summary. So we have a verse perspective. Okay. So if you look back at 268, which is the very beginning of the chapter, it's describing that the elements of sacrifice are from Purusha Avyaya. I'm looking at spoken Sanskrit online there. Avyaya means divisions or stuff like that. So it's translated that the elements of sacrifice come from the limbs, translated that way, divisions, limbs of the Purusha. So we're talking about that topic. And then 2631, it says, thus all manifestations are based upon Bhagavan Maya. So he's concluded talking about all these things, expansions, form, taste, touch, demigods, and then he's coming back to the same point, that all the elements, are produced from Bhagavan Maya, from the energy of Krishna. So it's the same. Okay, he's discussing the different energies of Krishna and how they're really a part of the body of the Lord. So when you think about it, it's kind of weird. I'm looking out my window, and that means that I'm kind of like some kind of like red corpuscle in the bloodstream or something. All these cars are going by, red corpuscles, and as you go into the body of a human being, which is reflection, right? You see incredible details. Every cell is incredible, and then their cooperation as tissues and organs, So then you start thinking about it. We're all this in the body of Krishna. So there's nothing but the body of Krishna. And there's nothing else. It doesn't exist. But then simultaneously we can look at it from the outside. And this, of course, is something which comes up again and again. Okay. Slide number 9. So here we're kind of summarizing again the previous verses. 2632. He by his will I create, Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself, in his eternal form as the personality of Godhead, maintains everything. He is the powerful controller of these 3 energies. Okay, so he's getting a little more detail about these energies. They can be divided into 3 basic categories. Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas. 33. My dear son, whatever you have inquired from me, I have thus explained unto you, and you must know for certain that whatever there is, either as cause or effect, both in the material and spiritual world, is dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's kind of summarizing. He's answered the questions in 33. He says, I've answered all your questions. And of course, this chapter is entitled Purusha Shukta Confirmed. That we're confirming that the Purusha, is the source of everything, spiritual and material. Then it's kind of like a little bit of a benediction or a side note in 34. O Nārada, because I have caught hold of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, with great zeal. Whatever I say never faults. Okay. Progress of my mind never deterred. Senses never degraded by temporary attachment to matter. So his vacho, his mana, and his indriya, mind, thought, and body, mind, words. They're never they degenerated or deterred. So this is the result, because not before it's Sankhya. He's just describing the Lord. There's different elements, there's subcategories. Now he's describing the relationship we have with dynamics with that. And the first thing is basically kind of like liberation and sat and chit, because liberation, there's no contamination, and chit, everything he says is true, like that. But no ananda. Number 10. Although, still I cannot understand him. So he's describing, even though, in spite of all of his qualifications, I still can't understand him. 36. Therefore, best to surrender under his lotus feet, which can, give us our perspective. Even the sky cannot estimate its own expansions. What to speak of others, the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits. So it's talking a lot about Sat-Chit. About, we surrender under his feet and we exist. And then Chit, we can know him, but even he can't know himself. So he's discussing the Sat and Chit aspects of reality. 39. That Supreme Original Personality, Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa, expanding himself as Mahā-Viṣṇu, creates this manifested cosmos, maintains them, and absorbs them. So now he's coming out of it and giving a little bit more details of who is the person on whose energies these are all based. In this verse, the personality of Godhead is, and describes his qualities. Great thinkers can know him, when, otherwise all is distorted. And then finally, in number 42, then he's going to start talking about Karanarna Vashai Viṣṇu is. And the next chapter then will go into the Purusha avatars and then into the Lila avatars. And we'll finish off with Srimad Bhagavatam as a literary incarnation of God. Like that. So, text number 11, which is the purport, Prabhupada says, the personality of Godhead is pure. So now Prabhupada is going to go through and illuminate the different qualities that have been mentioned. The personality of Godhead is pure. That's the first one. Why? Being free from all contaminations of material tinges. He is the absolute truth. Another quality. And the embodiment of full and perfect knowledge. So he is all-pervading, without beginning in, and without rival. What's the translation? Let's go on down to slide number 12, purport. Slide 12, purport. Here, Prabhupada says, here is an estimation of the Lord, apart from his transcendental activities in the temporary material creations. So I've got the picture here of Krishna coming home in the evening and Mother Yashoda embracing him, the gopis looking at him a little confidentially, his friends hopping up on the balcony, the birds flying around. So this is Krishna's activities in transcendence. But he also has transcendental activities in the temporary world. So probably here is an estimation of the Lord apart from his transcendental activities in the temporary material creations. Because these may appear to be kind of mundane, but he's unlimited, he's pure, he's without rival. Next slide, 13. Maya-body philosophy tries to designate the Lord as contaminated by a material body when he accepts forms of incarnation. This sort of interpolation is completely denied herein by the explanation that the Lord's position is pure and unalloyed in all circumstances. According to Maya-body philosophy, the supersoul, when covered by nescience, the super soul when covered by nescience, is designated as jiva. That's nice, huh? It's all one. We're all one. But when Maya covers different parts, it's called jiva. So jiva doesn't really exist. But when freed from such ignorance or nescience, he merges in the impersonal existence of the absolute truth. But it is said that the Lord is eternally the symbol of full and perfect knowledge. So one Mayavadi example is there's so many lakes, so many islands in the lake, but when the water is gone, we realize it's all the same land. You know, all this apparently individual islands are all this one, you know, with the one land like that. But of course, while they're separated, they think that they are individual. But here it says that no, the Lord is always, eternally, the symbol of full and perfect knowledge. So he never becomes confused by his own potency, by his external potency. Slide 14. This is his specialty, perpetual freedom from all material contaminations. This distinguishes the Lord from the individual, common living entities who have the aptitude for being subordinated by nescience and thus becoming materially designated, which I guess from Krishna's point of view is really hilarious. You know, we're taking on all these roles like that and playing, and he enjoys playing with us. Like when you humor a child becomes so attached to some stick or something like that, you know, and two children start fighting over some stick and start beating each other and everything else, and you come and try and stop it, and you've got to kind of enter into the thing, like the value of the stick, and maybe break it into two or something. Negotiate. But in some respects, it's just ridiculous. It's so funny, you know, fighting over this stick. You know. In the Vedas, it is said that the Lord is vijñānam, anandam, full of bliss and knowledge. The conditioned souls are never to be compared to him because such individual souls have a tendency to become contaminated. Although after liberation, the living entity can become one with the same quality of existence as the Lord. Slide 15. His very tendency, the jiva, to become contaminated, which the Lord never has, makes the individual living entity different from the Lord. So the point is repeated, and there's some very famous verses about this, no? Yeah. In the Vedas it is said, Shuddham apapam vidam. The individual Atma becomes polluted by sin. The Lord is never contaminated by sins. So this is all the first quality, Shuddha. Slide 16. The Lord is compared to the sun, like that. Yeah. Slide 17. The sun is never contaminated by anything infectious because it is so powerful. On the contrary, infected things are sterilized by the rays of the sun. Similarly, the Lord is never contaminated by sins. On the contrary, the simple living entities become sterilized by contact with the Lord. This means that the Lord is also all-pervading, like the sun. And as such, the word pratyak is used in this verse. Nothing is excluded from the existence of the Lord's potential expansions. The Lord is within everything, and he is all covering also. He's within everything, and he's also all-covering, without being disturbed by the activities of the individual souls. Yeah. We had one janitor in the temple in Berkeley one time. What his name? He was staying there with his wife and kid, and the kid was like about 14, and they were about maybe like 58, his wife 57. And they were kind of unusual people. They had a bus, they would travel around, and very much like a Gyani and stuff, you know. And so he had a big background of so much like studies and wisdom, but simple guy too, so he was doing the maintenance and cleaning. And so one time he said to us that God cannot possibly be omniscient, you know. And then we said, why? You know, we're all going to fight with him. You know, he said, look, you know, if anybody knew all the things all the women in the world were talking about all the time, he would go mad. Even God, you know. So at that point, we were wondering if it was a tenable argument or not. I don't know if somebody can comment on that. But anyway, it says here that no, he knows everything. And he's not disturbed by it. My goodness, what a person. Slide number 18. He is therefore infinite. Okay? Yeah. And the living entities are infinitesimal. In the Vedas it is said that only the Lord alone exists. And all others' existences depend on him. He is the generating reservoir for everyone's existential capacity. Oh my goodness. He is a generating, a French word and everything else here. He is a generating reservoir for everyone's existential capacity. And of course our existential capacities are always increasing, ever more beautiful. He is the supreme truth and all other truths, supreme truth of all other categorical truths. He is the source of everyone's opulence. So Prabhupada's running kind of fast right here now. The Vishuddham took a lot of time. Other ones he's going through very quickly. And therefore no one can equal him in opulence, being full of all opulences, namely wealth, fame, strength, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Certainly he is a supreme person. And because he is a person, he has many personal qualities, although he is transcendental to the modes of material nature. Slide number 19. We have already discussed the statement, Itam Bhuto Gano Harahe, Bhagavatam 1:7-10. His transcendental qualities are so attractive that even the liberated souls, Atma-ramas, are also attracted by them. Although possessed of all personal qualities, he is nevertheless omnipotent. Therefore, personally, he has nothing to do, for everything is being carried out by his omnipotent energies. This is confirmed by the Vedic mantras. Parashara Shakti Vividaya Shriyate Swabhavika Jnanakala Jnanabala Kriyacha. Again, another verse to memorize for Bhakti by Baba. Yeah. Slide number 20. This suggests his specific spiritual form, which can never be experienced by material senses. He can be seen only when the senses are purified by devotional service. Yamevaisha vrinute tina labhya. As such, there are basic differences between the Lord and living entities in so many respects. No one can be compared to the Lord, as the Vedas declare, Ekam a evadvitiyam brahma dvaitadvai bhayam bhavati. The Lord has no competitor, and he has nothing to fear from any other being, nor can anyone be equal to him. Slide 21. Although he is the root of all other beings, there are basic differences between him and other beings. Nevertheless, there would have been no necessity for the statement in the previous verse that no one can know him 100% as he is. Nayam vedanti tatvena. That no one can fully understand him is explained also in this verse, but the qualification for understanding to some degree is mentioned here. Only the prasantas, or the unalloyed devotees of the Lord, can know him to a greater extent. The reason is that the devotees have no demands in their lives, but to be obedient servants of the Lord, while others, namely the empiric philosophers, the mystics, and the fruitive workers, all basically have some demand, and as such they cannot be pacified. As it goes, Bhukti Kami, Siddhi Kami, Shakala, Sakala, Ashanta. The fruitive worker wants reward, slide number 22. The fruitive worker wants reward for his work. Yeah. The mystic wants some perfection of life, and the empiric philosopher wants to merge in the existence of the Lord. Somehow or other, as long as there is a demand for sense satisfaction, there is no chance of pacification. On the contrary, by unnecessary, dry, speculative arguments, the whole matter becomes distorted unless the Lord moves still further away from our understanding. The dry speculators, however, because of their following the principles of austerity and penance, can have knowledge of the impersonal features of the Lord to some extent. slide 23. But there is no chance of their understanding his ultimate form as Govinda, because only the Amalatmanas, or the completely sinless persons, can achieve pure devotional service to the Lord, as confirmed by the Bhagavad Gita, Lord himself. Yeshantvan tvagatam papam jananam punya karmanam tedvandava moha nirmukta bhajante man vridavrataha. Yeah. So that's the end of the purports. And slide 24, 25, we see a undisturbed soul, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, sitting under a banyan tree, and a nice picture of Krishna playing on his flute. So in the end, the personal qualities, mercy, being a fixed friend, being an expert speaker of different languages, being able to see things from different ways, being a genius, all the qualities, there's 50 listed or so, and ultimately expert flute player. These qualities are actually superior and more powerful than the material qualities. If you look at, for example, geometry, maybe the most Gyan type thing. Every little child learns geometry. All the boys and girls, maybe I guess you did. They learn arithmetic, which has rules anyway. But beyond that, next one uses geometry. And Euclid's first principle, it's very, very logical. His first entity is the point. And the point is that which has no extension, no width, no length, no breadth, no mother, no father, neti. And everything can be described as being existing within space. Maybe, at least this is called geometry, and how to measure the earth. So there's a suspicion that you could never planned on us. There you go, the evidence is going by. My God. You could maybe never consider that people would be so stupid they would try to apply geometry to understanding everything, all personal relationships, everything else. It was probably almost for sure, because that was geometry. Beyond that, the classical Greek study was composition of drama, performance of drama, and criticism, and also gymnastics. So geometry and logic was part of it. But we've just taken it like this, try to explain everything in terms of this analytical philosophy, which is coming down from this level. But even if you look at it closely, they come back to the basic axioms or postulates, which are just given. And you ask why, they say because it feels right. It feels right. So they appeal to some higher, standard of truth other than this Gyan ability. Of course, then we're coming to the Paramama, Satyat, and finally Ananda. And even Socrates and people talk about this, that it not only it can't be considered truth unless it's also beautiful and pleasing. Socrates rejects things as truth if it is logical, and beyond that, it has to be beautiful. It has to be beautiful also. So the beauty, of course, is your satisfaction and goodness. So that's kind of our presentation then. Slide number 25. Thank you. So, anything, questions or comments? Complaints?
Sorry, it took me a minute to unmute here. Am I heard?
Yeah. You're immutable.
Okay, it's a couple little comments. I guess sometimes with my work, I have to interface with the materialist and try to, in whatever possible way, touch their hearts and give them some Krishna consciousness. But in a course of interaction, it made me think when you were talking about what the janitor had said about if Mahā-Viṣṇu, or the Lord in his omnipotence or omniscience, could understand, or could he understand all the nonsense that women are speaking? I was thinking, boy, I don't think there's a lot of difference between women and men. If we listen, from our Vaishnava perspective, all the nonsense men talk about, I mean, to a devotee, anything anybody talks about, Prajalpa, if it's not related to Krishna, if it's not somehow connected to Krishna, it's just painful to listen to. Unless we find some way to connect it, it's painful.
It's painful. Also, what's what is confusing, no?
It contaminates.
It doesn't make any sense, you know. Yeah. But his point was, it was interesting. What struck us was that, because you're adding to it now. So I agree. You know, the point is that not only does Mahā-Viṣṇu doesn't go nuts listening to all this stuff, and he knows all of it all the time, and we just deal with it, a little bit of it for a moment. He knows all of it all the time, and he doesn't go crazy.
And he knows all of it, that everything that's been said in the past for eternity, and everything that's ever going to be spoken in the future. I mean, that's a lot. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana vivishani. I mean, past, present, future. He knows everything that was ever spoken, everything that will be spoken for eternity in this material world.
So our only hope seems to be to approach him through personal qualities, which are actually superior.
And not to make a pun, but a point about a point. You were talking about a point. You were saying it doesn't have this, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. One thing a point does have is location.
Okay. This is interesting because now we're getting into epistemology, everything else.
No, it's a great discussion.
Because one of the courses I took in the university was specifically how space can be generated from Cartesian coordinates, you know, and then they have a whole logical thing how the point then the point generates space. It's very philosophical. That the point, whatever it is, you know, in the beginning there's no space. It doesn't have a location, but the point itself, because of its nature, this is a whole semester course, you know, generates the Cartesian coordinates, you know, which is, you know, X, Y, Z, like that. It was interesting because, anyway, I won't go into that point yet. It was an interesting course, but the guy just took it over 1 month and gradually showed us mathematically, you know, how space was created from the basic concept of a point like that. Yeah. Other people may argue with that. I don't know. his course.
It's a little over my head right now. Maybe it's too early in the morning here, but
yeah. So that the point doesn't even have a location, because there is no X, Y. It has no extension. You know, so therefore it can't exist any place, because no place. It's the beginning. You know, see, it gets very, very logical, very philosophical, and you try and understand Krishna by this stuff, it becomes really confusing. But it took a whole semester for the guy to then just show us, you know, 25 students, how then from the point, and then you can logically then expand and to get, to 2 inches up and 4 inches over, X, Y, Z coordinates. You know, it's very philosophical. Bhakti Siddhanta, I think, was dealing with this too. That we just assume these things, but you look at them, they're very philosophical principles involved in the way we look at space, the way we organize space. And then if you go to psychology, that determines how you can see space. Because we're trained in a certain perspective, we see them differently than other cultures. We cannot see things, we cannot do things that they can do. You know? And they can't do things that we can do. Yeah.
Dandavats Maharaj.
Yeah.
Srila Sridhar Maharaj had an expression in connection with Krishna. Center everywhere, circumference nowhere.
Well, that's nice. Yeah. I also heard that from one Buddhist who came to our university one time. He said, God is a circle with no circumference, with a center everywhere. Of course, that kind of violates the basic definition of a circle, like that. So it's a chinta. Yeah.
Maharaj, I have a question I hesitate to answer because I'm kind of sleepy right now. But anyway, here it goes. In the purport, there's one sentence that I find very interesting. It says he is the generating reservoir of everything existential, everyone's existential capacity. He is the supreme truth of all other categorical truths. So is it that Krishna has no other category because he's one without a second, and all of his emanations are simply categories of that one non-categorical truth? Is that right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, by example I think of right away, of course, is water, steam, and ice. Now, if I throw a piece of ice at you, I could go to jail, But if I throw water at you, I'll probably be considered rude. And if I shoot if a cloud vapor goes on you, I won't even be considered anything. But it's three different categories of the same substance. What is that substance?
Water.
Water is one category. If you go to what's the one? Mars is farther out. If you go to Mars, probably you'll never see water. Maybe there's volcanoes there. You probably almost never see water or steam. We don't have a word for it. I guess we do have H2O, dihydrous oxide. Dihydrous oxide, I guess, might do it. But see that because there's no, you can't get a hold of it because it's the absolute truth. And from that, but it's the same thing in three different categories. And of course, ice can be made into ice cream cones, whatever, like that. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
I think after hearing all these things, it's difficult to live an ordinary life like that. You have to kind of like leave your body or just watch your body cooking and watch your body, doing these things. When it comes to prayers by personified Vedas in the Krishna book reading, everybody kind of goes, "Oh my God, for 5 nights we're going to be on, on the prayers by personified Vedas, But then when you look at the acharyas, when it comes to personified Vedas, they're all going, "Oh wow, goody, 20, 30, 35 pages of dry philosophy, wow." So they're relishing these subtle pleasures, and seeing your Arthur Eddington, he was Einstein's best friend, big physicist in his own right, and also a big Christian. So his writings are very nice, very good things for preaching. But he said the physicist who supposedly believes that everything is made of quanta, and atoms and molecules and quantified and controlled by different rules and regulations, must necessarily believe that his wife is a rather elaborate differential equation. But he's probably intelligent enough not to introduce these ideas in ordinary domestic affairs. Yeah. So you see this untenable arguments and makes everything so cloudy, on and on. So anyway, I guess thank you very much. We did it. We caught up here, and amazing verses, and I think they have their effect in the heart. Little by little, they go deep into our intelligence, and then we start to see all these categories. I see the world differently myself. I can see it. I'm just so much detached, from the functioning of the world now. It's automatic and stuff. But the thing is not just detachment. The next level is to see how all Krishna is playing, how Krishna is playing in all these things that are happening around us, and how like a soldier, he gets hit in the head. He's knocked halfway unconscious. He's disoriented. The sounds are going on. Intelligence is not there. And someone is screaming at him at his side, "Help! Help! Help!" And he's kind of realizing his friend is fighting off some other guy with a knife, and he put together enough and goes over and shoots the guy or smashes him or something. So that's the condition. We're right in the middle of Goloka Lila. There's nothing but Goloka Lila. And then part of that is Ram Leela, and part of that is this, and part of that is that. And where's the universal form? Well, it's in Krishna's mouth. Okay. And so, but from Krishna's point of view, it's all connected. He's trying to get all these guys engaged in Goloka Lila somehow or other, and it's all connected. And for him, it's also fun. He eternally becomes Mahā-Viṣṇu. You know, he eternally becomes Ram. And Radharani eternally becomes Sita. It's so much fun, you know, playing these Purusha avatars. They never want to stop. They never want to stop, expanding it, trying it out, you know, coming up with different things. I just think that maybe Sridham, Radharani's older brother, becomes Ravana and kidnaps her. That would make it and it fit in properly, you know. But he tries to become a better and better Ravana. Okay, so thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, Maharaj.
Oh no, I'll be around. It's just on next Friday. We're just doing those exact hours is when our airplane trip is out to we're just going to go for 2 days to San Francisco.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna to all.